Hey there, welcome to the My Risk Advisor podcast. This podcast is for anyone in the financial planning ecosystem with a focus on life risk insurance. I'm your host, Phil Thompson, Director and Financial Advisor at Sky Wealth, and I've been on a business journey over the last few years going from a struggling holistic advice firm with one staff member, considering packing it all in, to pivot the business now to being one of Australia's leading specialist insurance advice firms with over 7 advisors, 30 team members, and helping hundreds of clients every single year get important insurance cover in place. I am unashamed to say that this podcast is so I can continue to grow and develop as an advisor and a business owner as I interview some incredibly smart individuals. So keep on listening so you can learn alongside me. Awesome. So today I've got Tyson Holmes from MWL Financial Group to talk about your journey, Tyson, and where you've come from and what you're doing today. So thanks heaps for joining me.
That's all right. It's great to be here.
So Tyson, tell me, how'd you get into financial advice, and then also how'd you get into insurance only advice?
Yeah, probably started out probably about 11 years ago now. I moved to Melbourne to play soccer. It was football related, but the club at the time I moved to, the president there basically has his own financial planning and insurance business. But then I got introduced to, I didn't start off there though, I got introduced to someone else because previously I was actually an electrician, and I got introduced to someone else who introduced me to a Ross Hennig, which from Lakeside Financial in Brighton, more smaller boutique kind of firm. And yes, I started there back in 2013 or 2012. There was a few senior advisors there, and I kind of just started learning off those guys, and yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there. And they were basically the section I was in was insurance only. So that's why I've always that's kind of been where my passion's just developed.
Cool. So wait, you moved to Melbourne for soccer, so you must have been pretty good.
Yeah, I was all right. But yeah, my wife and I at the time, Where were you? Whereabouts were you from? I'm originally from the Sunshine Coast in Queensland.
Yeah.
Yes, I was there for quite some time, and then I moved here for soccer and a bit of a change. And then my wife and I, we haven't looked back really. We've now got 3 kids, and she's got a physiotherapy business, and so we're pretty set on Melbourne. No intention of moving back anytime soon.
And so when you're at Lakeside, so I do know Lakeside, they do more than just insurance only. Did you consider moving into that path, or were you kind of always planning on doing risk only?
I was always planning on doing risk only. At Lakeside, one thing they had really good there was a lot of structure with each areas of the business, because I know they've got financial planning, accounting, mortgage broking and everything. So it really enabled me though there's a big emphasis on linking everything together. And that was a good thing about developing, honing my skills and having more holistic conversations with people. But it also highlighted the importance for me as having specialists in each area. I've never been one that kind of wanted to dabble bits and pieces in anything. I'd rather just focus on one thing and try and do that well, which was kind of the message that I had from the start.
Yeah, cool. And so in 2017, you moved to MWL Financial Group. What was kind of the reason for that? And moving there, you're doing risk only in that business?
Yeah, well, that then kind of correlated with the original soccer club that I had signed for years before. The president there, he is the director of this firm. And so there was just a real opportunity presented to me here for a lot of growth. And I'm essentially now here, I basically contract to MWL. So I've got my own company set up, and I'm basically contracting the insurance work, because the director here, he used to be a life insurance advisor, but he's now built this business. It's quite large now. There's a big accounting business side of the business. We're located here in Sydney and in Adelaide. So he didn't really have time to be on the tools from an insurance perspective anymore. So that's where there was kind of that opportunity to take over here and grow and develop from this side of things.
Yeah, great. So it's kind of a joint venture you set up within that business.
Pretty much, yeah. I was kind of considering going completely out on my own before coming here, and that's where just meeting with the director and having a few conversations and that kind of thing. I did have a young family, or I still have a young family at the time, so there obviously was a lot of risks associated with that, and this way at least helped me kind of have a bit of security in doing it this way, which has worked out well so far.
Yeah, cool. Because I do know there are a lot of firms out there who are, weighing up their options. Insurance is an interesting space where commissions, if you've been around for whatever 5+ years, you've seen commissions, fall through the floor, and it's difficult. So I know there are a lot of businesses looking at weighing up their options. They may not be writing much new business. They may have the opportunity, but it's just, when you're getting a decline every, fourth application and they're barely profitable as it is, it becomes really difficult. So help me understand kind of from your point of view in moving into, that kind of arrangement, what were some of the pros and the good things about it? And what was some of the things that, and obviously you're still in the business, so you're not going to throw anyone under the bus, but what are some of the things that knowing what you know now, maybe you'd consider things differently?
Well, when I did the transition was when the commission reduction was just starting to happen. So I when I was at Lakeside was when it was the old usual upfront and renewals. But then when I came here was when it started to be the tier down. I think the director here, like I always joked to him at the time, he's never written a policy where the premium's now here and what you actually get paid is down here compared to the old days. So it didn't really impact me too much as such because I guess I hadn't yet built like a business on the back of those high upfronts for the last 20 or 30 years. So it enabled me to at least, I guess, structure things a bit differently and, just try and focus on building my client book. And I'm kind of a bit of a believer, if you're putting the work in, the rest kind of will take care of itself. Probably, someone that's kind of just would prefer to sit there and not really do too much or sit on a book, that I just think you've got to be a bit more proactive these days. But as you mentioned before, like underwriting, I feel like, I don't know if there's so many health issues or so many people a lot more health conscious these days. So they're doing a lot of things to be proactive about their health, but sometimes insurers don't see that in a favourable way. So I've just been obviously learning to develop those skills with underwriting because it can be quite difficult. And I guess to some of the older generation, there is a lot of work that goes involved now and it's very highly scrutinised. I think at the moment, from my perspective, it's about, I guess, just continuing to try and grow and develop.
Yeah. And that's the good thing about, knowing your craft in insurance is if you're doing multiple applications a month, you understand very quickly if underwriting moves slightly. Like if the goalposts are moving a little bit, you're on top of it doing risk only. Correct. Like, as much as I still get grumpy and get annoyed when someone articulates that they've had stress at work and getting declined income protection these days. And I'm like, 3 years ago, we're accepting the cover with an exclusion and now we're declining with some insurers. I still get very, very grumpy, but very quick smart. And then you go, okay, well, for my next 100 clients that I'm going to be working with, we know those goalposts have moved and where they're at the moment. But if you're doing, one app a month, or at a less volume, then you may not come across that issue and something may have changed 3 years ago that you're not aware of. But when you're doing the volume and that's your sole focus, it does make it a lot easier.
That point, like, it hits a nail on the head really, because we've got a few advisors, for example, in Sydney that do the more holistic advice and do insurance as a bit of an extra service. And at the moment, I've noticed now that whenever there's a client with some sort of health issue, they're ringing me and be like, hey, I've got a client with this. Where should I look to put them and that sort of stuff? Because they know that that's my sole focus is insurance. And being an ex-sport person, I'm quite competitive as well when it comes to the underwriting. So I don't really take no for an answer. I'd probably be known by underwriters to be quite full on and pushy. But I'm just trying to get the best result really for the clients and kind of, win-win for both parties, but just solely focus on insurance helps me build that knowledge and understanding for clients.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I get messages from other advice friends who's like, oh, having this outcome with this insurer, is that reasonable or not? And I'm like, that's why we haven't written them in 12 months because that stands for certain things. And then you kind of know who to touch on, for different areas. And, within a business that does multiple things, is that one thing when you came into that business, were you really focused on going, hey, let's identify needs that the client has that I can, refer out, not from trying to grow, trying to capture as much share of wallet per client as possible, but more of a, how did you think about that being risk only? Because that is some advisors' concern when they do risk only is how do I help these clients with their other needs?
Yeah, well, things like obviously the superannuation side of things, like I basically then, whenever I get all the details together, I just hand it over to one of our senior advisors to just have a look at and be like, look, I've got this client. Can you let me know if there's anything that we can do on this front? And then it kind of puts me in a bit of a gatekeeper position, or just to know that, okay, if there is something that can be done, or trusting that I can actually help to do it. A big one for me as well is, which we don't have it in-house, but on day one, as soon as I came here, I focus on having relationships with lawyers for estate planning, for wills. That's another thing. And like, that's nothing I get out of it, but it's bringing massive value to my actual clients. And then the benefit is, when at the tail end is if you unfortunately start having claims for the clients, you at least know that everything's done properly. And there's been a few cases now where unfortunately it's happened to some of my clients, but they've had the right wills and structures in place so that everything's just flowed on. And then I've actually worked with the lawyer to facilitate the estate and the claim and all that sort of thing.
And so within the business, how is it currently working in the Melbourne holistic advisors referring all risk to you, or are they still touching on the insurance for their clients that they're working with? Like, how is that working within the business?
There's some that just do it slightly, but then there's some that have completely wiped their hands with it and hand it over. But as I said, as soon as it gets slightly complex, that's where a lot of the times I kind of get asked to step in or to help out, advise. Yeah, use my, I guess, relationships and contacts with the insurers. So these guys, like a lot of the guys, because they're not writing that much, they probably don't get as much, hands-on kind of contact from the insurers and that sort of thing. Whereas I'm a big one on relationships, and I've developed some strong relationships with insurers, with BDMs, underwriters, that we're working together as opposed to working against each other. And that's what I try and develop. And then once I get that good relationship or some good outcomes, then yeah, it builds that trust between everyone.
And it becomes easier to, if they've, worked on a client, found it really difficult, and then you've come up with a good outcome, it's easy for them to next time be like, I'm not even going to waste my time. Like, let's just send it to Tyson. Yeah, but there's no mandated requirement either way to send clients or to not. Or,
no.
Yeah, cool. And your team, do you have a team around you, like support work, like staff, and what does that look like?
Yes, I've got a full-time admin support lady, Claire. She's been here for probably about 15 or 16 years. So she originally was the executive assistant to the director when he was writing. So she's a lifesaver for me. Like, she's as hard on me as anything. Every day I get in there, she's got lists for me of what I need to do and that sort of thing. But the great thing about her is, like, she could literally pretty much write risk. She's done it for that long. So she knows everything, the ins and outs and that. So she's awesome for me. So she helps out with all those, a lot of the admin, the applications, claims, all that side of things. And she helps out with some SOAs, but we've also got like some offshore help as well that helps out with that sort of thing also.
Yeah, cool. And the percentage of advice documents that you're personally writing versus support team are writing, what does that look like in for you? What, are you writing 90% of your SOAs? Is Claire doing them? Is the offshore team doing the actual advice documents?
I'd be pretty much writing a lot of them, most of them. But if they go offshore anyway, I then obviously I review them quite heavily as well. But yeah, I am quite hands-on with that kind of thing. But yeah, I do a lot of it with Claire, to be honest, because Claire's in the office next to me. So we find it sometimes is a lot easier and quicker and simpler if we just sit down and get through them. Yes, that's how we kind of handle that side of thing, yeah.
Cool. And your client meetings, are you doing mainly face-to-face? Are you doing virtual? Like, what does that look like?
It's probably more virtual these days, not by my choice. Now since all the stuff with COVID, like I enjoy getting out there, meeting people, catching up with people, that kind of thing. So I always say, do you want me to come out and see you? But I'm getting a lot of the responses these days is, let's just have a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting. So a lot of it's probably done that way. And I guess there's a lot of positives to that. This will not wasted time with traveling and that kind of thing. But as I said before, I do like the face-to-face. And I still have some clients that like that as well, that want me to come out. And ideally, if it's a new client as well, I prefer to be face-to-face. But I'd say probably 80% would be online.
Do you track your conversion rates within your business?
I don't, actually.
Yeah. We're pretty bad in our business. We're in terms of not tracking that. But the reason I asked is I'd be interested to know what your conversion rates are versus face-to-face versus virtual. Like, do you have like a sense of what you think works better?
But when you say conversion, would you say, so for example, if you recommend 4 types of insurance to a client and they take, let's say, just 2, life and TBD, would you still would you consider those?
Oh,
two?
yeah. I mean, they're converting.
Like-
yeah, we basically, in our business, we think about the client can do whatever they want with the
Yeah.
cover. Like they can make
Yeah.
any adjustment they want, and we track that conversion rate. Now, we are looking at tracking what percentage of clients went ahead as recommended versus an alternative quote. So that's another factor for us, whereby if one advisor is 80% of the clients who are going ahead as recommended versus another advisor where it's 50-50, that's just something to go, okay, what are they doing in their meetings? Is there a big difference between those two?
Yeah, no.
But let's just say going ahead with some insurance.
My director has had the conversation with me. He reckons my conversion would be like right up there, quite high. But I try and bring a lot of like value and knowledge and understanding in my meetings as well. Like I've now been unfortunate or fortunate enough to have quite a number of claims now. Claims is where you really understand the back end of how the policies actually work, and then I can actually deliver that to clients. So that really helps me, ensure that that helps with my conversions, definitely my knowledge and understanding and really explaining to clients exactly how the products work. They can tell that I'm not just trying to flog them each type of insurance, let's say, like explain exactly how it works. Is this right for you? Isn't it right for you? Do you really need it? That sort of thing. So I build the trust that way, whether it's face-to-face or online. I just try and be honest and open as possible, but and that just helps me have a good strike rate.
And in terms of your like getting a sense, coming back to that face-to-face versus virtual, do you get a sense that virtual converts lower, or you think it's it all washes out as basically the same?
Yeah, I reckon it's pretty similar, to be honest. I don't think it washes out at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to know why you then want to do more face-to-face then. Isn't it just a waste of time?
I just like the humour. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I get that, but I also like getting out and about and catching up with people. We got locked down for so long. Like, I don't know, I do like to, catch up for a coffee and sit down and chat and face-to-face and building that face-to-face rapport. But with technology these days, you can do the same thing this way.
Yeah. So, we're different people. I'm a hermit. I'd much rather just like talk to people virtually, like get to know people virtually. And if there's my view is if there's no like uptick in conversion or benefit, like I'd much rather save time traveling and spend more time with my family.
I agree with that. I can agree with that. If I was losing out on too much business or something like that, I definitely would switch things. But 80 to 90% anyway is done virtually without even my choice. So I think I just feel clients are selecting that.
One thing I often get asked is, being risk only business, like how are we selecting products? It's always good to know that we're all giving advice on the same products essentially. But what are your kind of ways of thinking about the product selection? What percentage of your work goes to which insurer? I guess we'll start there. So are you, maybe don't name the names, don't want to say someone's crap or someone's really good, but would you say like most of your business goes to one insurer and then the rest get like maybe 20%, or would you say it's fairly even across the board?
I think at the moment there's one insurer that'll be getting more than others, but that comes down to a lot of that's like down to the service that I get, the clients get, the underwriting I get. As long as the product's good and it suits the client's needs, and there's certain things that this particular insurer that offer, some clients like that other insurers don't offer, and those kinds of things. So when there's, but when you're dealing with professionals, like there's obviously the PPS, everyone will kind of know what their difference is and that sort of thing. So it's just about tailoring the insurer that suits the client. But then also if I know that I'm going to be able to get the best underwriting outcome, the best service, when I've had claims with these insurers, the process has been spot on. That's the stuff that means the most to me, and I kind of translate that onto the clients as well.
Yeah, and how do you think about that in terms of the regulator is very kind of clear cut, and I don't think the regulator thinks that we need to do the cheapest insurer. I don't subscribe to that at all. Sorry, let me just confirm. Do you take commissions?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's an inherent conflict when you're getting paid a commission that. If we're recommending a more expensive product, even if you're adding features or whatever, it's more expensive, there's that inherent conflict. How do you think about that in terms of, if you're riding a good level with one insurer and all your reasonings make total sense? We've actually just removed one insurer yesterday. I had a phone call yesterday saying, we're not even going to show it to any clients. We're not going to pre-assess with you guys because your service is 30% less efficient than every other insurance company in the market. So we just can't recommend you. So we do the same thing, opting out of insurers. But how do you think about it from a compliance point of view and recommending based on service?
Yeah, that's the thing. With how heavily everything's been scrutinised in the last few years, it is hard to, I don't want to say what's right or wrong, but it feels like anything that you do, no matter what way you go, you'll be put under the microscope for some reason. It's not like I kind of am locked in with a particular insurer and I don't care if the premium's $2,000 more, I'm putting it there kind of thing. As long as it's within something reasonable, but if they are providing features and benefits on top of certain policies, like, for example, one of the insurers they're offering a specified injury benefit, so like the fracture benefit that used to be on the old income protection policies.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm doing a lot of stuff with sport people and athletes and that sort of thing, like that covers imperative to someone like that's at risk of breaking bones and that. So when you're doing things like that, that kind of, in my opinion, if there's something unique like that no one else is offering, well, it eliminates pretty much everything anyway. So it's doing little things like that, but explaining this, like the service side of things as well. Like you said, like there's some insurers at the moment, they're just horrific to deal with from an admin perspective. So if a claim comes along, I don't want to be waiting 2, 3, 4 weeks for things. I need things now to give the service to the clients. So I just kind of make sure I bring that across as well, and kind of disclose that also.
And do you think about like concentration risk with one insurer? Like, we live in the world of re-rates. Everyone's doing it, fortunately. Well, sorry, not fortunately, they're doing it. Everyone's doing it. So it's like, well, yeah, you may get a re-rate, but the one we want to move to may re-rate in 3 months' time anyway. So, but do you think about concentration risk within your book of clients? And how do you think about that?
I look at, obviously, the projection side of things as well, because obviously some insurers look good in the early years, but then a year or two later, you get whacked with massive increases. Yeah, that is something we kind of do look into and consider, but once again, it's then I like to have those relationships with insurers to try and get like preferred pricing and that sort of thing for my clients. That's a big thing that some insurers I've noticed are now kind of trying to do for advisors that are obviously providing them support, giving them preferred pricing, which is below what the market usually would be. So yeah, we're conscious of those things. It's not like I'm writing everything with just one insurer, but we are trying to still try and spread the risk around, being mindful of what can happen in the future.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like in our business, we think a lot about, like, if we've written a lot with one insurer last year, I kind of try and find a way not to write as much this year. Like I talk about in our business, we've got vintages. 2020 was BT vintage, 21 was Tau vintage, 22 was Clearview for us, and we'll see where 23 lands. But it's it's funny.
And if I actually looked over my last few years, I'd be similar, where I've gone. There's been periods where it's been a lot with one insurer, and then it goes to another insurer and another insurer in terms of where all my new business is going. Not like I've sat on this one insurer for the last 5 or 6 years and all new business is just going to this insurer. Definitely.
Yeah. And that's the way we think about it. Like, over time, we write enough business kind of with everyone. So we get preferred service, dedicated underwriter, all that stuff. Because, we kind of write enough across everyone. But I do think about sometimes, I just want to make sure we're not like heavily in one insurer. Want to make sure that they're not, any more than 50% of our premiums for the year.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Tyson, help me understand kind of the size of your business in terms of the clients you're working with. Because, one thing that I don't like when I listen to other people is I don't want to listen to someone who's like written 2 policies a year to tell me why, what they're doing and how they're doing it. So help me understand.
Yeah, look, I've got quite a number of clients. I'd say to be over 600 or 700 now. What I've been kind of big on is trying to build referral partnerships, which I do have. I've got like a general insurance advisor, broker, mortgage brokers, financial planning firm that has basically ditched the risk side of things and that. So I've always tried to build those kinds of relationships, and also just making sure then when I'm referred a client, if I obviously do, good things with that client, then getting referred into their networks. I had one client that he got referred to me from this general insurance broker, and within like 2 or 3 months, I had about 20 referrals from this one client. He just keeps sending them to me. So yeah, it's just about making sure, as with everything, what everyone's always says, like just to keep opening doors and opportunities, and that's kind of what I try and focus on. So I ideally like to try and at least be doing 10 to 20 new clients a month. Ideally, is what I try and aim for,
All right, bloody hell, how are you doing so many if it's just the two of you?
Just process, really. Like, we've got processes down. Claire being the experience she's got like 15 or 16 years in the insurance world. She's awesome. She works from home most of the time, and we just work like, we're not really like clock watchers or anything like that. So we just do what needs to be done. But then we've also, as I said, we've got this offshore help and that as well, that we're training up in the insurance side of things that can, do things for us and do a lot of admin stuff and take a lot of that load off us. That is probably one area of the business I'm kind of in discussion with. Okay, well, let's try and expand a bit more to take a bit of the load off Claire and I. That is quite full on.
Yeah, I mean, that must be a hard thing. Having the structure that you have, for me, owning the business, I could just go, I'll just risk however much money and bring on support staff. And if it stuffs up, that's on me. Like, I'm accountable to myself or my wife, and say, hey, I made a mistake. This has cost us a whole bunch of money. So it must be a bit harder in that kind of an environment that you're in is going, that push and pull, which is good in lots of ways. You've got that extra accountability where you do need to say, hey, here's the plan of what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. And you can't just bugger up without no accountability. But I guess when you need support, there is probably a need to justify that support. Mate, 700 clients.
Yeah. It's a bit. It's quite a lot. But that's where the reviews and that sort of thing, that's where a lot of the offshore stuff takes care of, like a lot of the admin kind of things. Whereas Claire and I, our focus is on the new business. But ideally, we've got enough support in the back end to help maintain and look after the book.
And what type of systems are you using to kind of manage those renewals? Are you using Xplan? Like, how are you manage that?
Yeah, we use Xplan. That's the only program I've ever kind of been exposed to, both at Lakeside and here. So that's good. We use Xplan, and then we've just got like a lot of templated documents that have been used here forever. We're using to try and just streamline everything so that clients at least get notified, touch base, and then if they obviously book in a meeting or a review with me, well, then that just goes straight into my diary and we go from there.
Yeah, amazing. Well, mate, you're crushing it. Over 100 plus clients a year bringing on board, and a massive amount of clients. So you're clearly doing something really well with 2 team members. We've got many more than 2 team members. Maybe I just need to fire half the team at Sky and just say, hey, if Tyson can do it with 2, maybe we can do it with much less.
Yeah. There's lack of sleep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and maybe you'll meet your youngest child one day.
Yeah, hopefully. That's another thing. I try and be as present as possible as I can as a dad, but it's full on.
No, you're doing good. And what have you got? You got 3 little ones. What are they?
Got 3 little ones. I've got a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and then in January this year we had another little one. So she's 9 months old now. So
great,
boy, girl. So.
Pleasant surprise or a planned surprise?
Oh, well, let's say pleasant surprise. Yeah. We kind of, because we had the boy and the girl. I think we thought, and they were 7 and 5. Well, obviously when she became pregnant, they were probably like 6 and 4.
Yeah,
we're like, we've got one of each. We're out of the nappies and the prams, and we're back in there.
Straight back in. That's what we had our kids 18 months and 19 months apart, and it was like so good because you're in hell for like 4 or 5 years.
Correct.
But you get over it, and then you don't have to do it again. So I do not envy the parents who go back in and
we're back in the. We're in the trench, back right in the trench at the moment, because she started crawling now. So now that she's fully on the move and pulling herself up on things and grabbing things and throwing them and chucking everything in her mouth, nothing's safe in our house now.
Yeah. So, the good news is the older ones may be a little bit more helpful.
They are. Yeah. And they also have to make sure they tidy up. Otherwise, she's into all their toys and everything. So.
Yeah, it's nothing like the threat of you're going to kill your baby sister. So you better clean up. That helps.
Yeah. exactly. The big one for us is the Lego, because my two older kids are really into their Lego and like nice Lego sets like the Disney house and that sort of stuff. And that's all on my daughter's play table, my oldest daughter. And so when the little one, she's standing up there, they have to push it all to the back of the table. Otherwise it'll get slammed onto the ground.
All right, cool. Let's finish up. I've got 2 questions for you to end. So first question, when do you get a chance to do your emails?
I do a lot at night. Actually, once kids have gone to bed, I jump on. Then usually I block out times in my weeks as well to sit there and do it, to get emails out. Yeah, if you looked at my email history, my first one would be at like when I wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning, and then my last ones would be at 9 o'clock at night or something. I just kind of
and do you
check in and see what's going on.
Do you schedule the send time to make sure clients don't see it at night, or are you just like, nah, can't be stuff. When I send it, they'll get it?
What if I send it at 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah. So when you send late, you just send it. Yeah.
Yeah. If I send late, then they get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I got in the habit of doing send later, just so clients don't have this expectation that I'm working at 10 o'clock, even if I am working late.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good point. I'm not very good on the technology side of things, so that sort of stuff I wouldn't even know how to do that. But
the CRM we use just added a feature, so I started using it. But then sometimes stuff, who cares? I'll just send it when I send it.
Yeah, okay.
And what's one interesting hobby that you have?
Well, it would be soccer, I guess. That would be my main one. Like I stopped playing at the end of last year. As soon as we knew that we were about to have the third baby, I just couldn't commit to it this year. But yeah, I was playing soccer. I was playing at like a pretty decent high level, which took up a lot of my time. A lot of time training at nights, training 3-4 nights a week, and playing and traveling interstate some weeks and that sort of thing. So that was a bit of a nightmare. This year has been a bit of a relief not having that high demand and high commitment sport, but my time's just been substituted now for coaching my kids' soccer teams and chasing after them a bit more.
I asked my wife if I could play cricket, and that's like a 5-hour Saturday, and she was like, nah.
Yeah.
Get stuff. You're not taking 5 hours on a Saturday to go play cricket.
Yeah, exactly. And it got to the point last year, like we'd be in final series where it becomes elimination, and anytime I'd win a game, my wife was actually upset because it meant I actually had to train another week and play another game.
Yeah, you can win a whole nother week.
Yeah, but I've had my fun. The thing I enjoyed the last few years of my career was my kids being able to see and be a part of it, and like things like when we won a grand final, they go up on stage and get the medal around their neck. They've been exposed to that kind of stuff, which has been really, really cool. But yeah, that's all in the past now, so I don't really get much time to myself to do what I want to do. Yeah, I might get to play golf once every 6 months if I'm lucky. Yeah, well, now you get to coach, you get to live vicariously through the little ones, so that's good. Correct. Yeah, I appreciate you coming. And yeah, if people want to get in touch with you and ask you how you sleep 3 hours a night because you're working so hard, how do people get in touch with you? They can either email me or contact the office, MWL.com.au. It's the website, and just call and leave a message or send me an email. And I'm happy to chat further. Or on LinkedIn, I guess. That's probably the easiest way to go direct to LinkedIn. But yeah, happy to chat and speak to anyone that wants to chat further. Awesome. Thanks, mate. I appreciate your time. Great. No worries. Thanks, Phil. If you've enjoyed this episode and you think someone else will get value out of it, I'd love it if you could forward it on to them. And as always, we can continue the conversation in the My Risk Advisor Facebook group. All you need to do, open up Facebook and search My Risk Advisor, and I'll see you in there.